it pretty well. So again, we're going to go in the same order. Andrew, just give your thoughts, an opening statement on what do you think makes a man attractive to a woman?
So I don't really think about that often, right? I leave that to like Fruit Loops who sit around and postulate that all the time. What makes men attractive? I can tell you what I think doesn't make a man attractive is being on his knees, chained up to, some woman while he's sitting on the floor. I would say that that's probably not a very attractive quality. I can mostly look at the things that I think probably wouldn't be attractive, but I don't know what makes women tick. Nobody knows what makes women tick. There's something seriously wrong upstairs with most of them, right? There's that whole scale, the craziness to attractiveness scale, right? The more attractive they are, the more Looney Tunes they tend to be. So I don't really know exactly what makes a man attractive to a woman. That's for you, like pickup artists and degens. You guys sit around and think that up. I've been married for 14 years. I don't think about that stuff at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Dr. Christy, you're up next.
Yes. So here's the thing is, women run the ages from 18 to 80. And I don't know what a person would find attractive at a certain point of life or because of their hobbies or whatever else. So I don't think that it's easy to say. I think there's a tendency to do kind of ecological fallacies, which is to look at things in the aggregate or look at Evo Psych and then try to apply that to individuals. And that never really works because people are individual and they aren't also just one thing their whole lives. Like their life experience changes them. So in terms of what a person will find attractive, whoever it is, I think it ultimately is so subjective that it's almost meaningless to try to generalize about it.
Okay, Wheat Waffles.
Okay, I have a very different point of view to Christy. I don't buy the subjective narrative that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I am very much more so believe that what makes a man attractive is objective. And I'm just going to approach this question with like a list because it's such a multifaceted question. Like there's, so many different things that go into it. So I'm just going to list off things that make a man attractive, but not necessarily in the right order. So a good jawline, low body fat percentage, symmetrical face, clear skin, good eye area, full head of hair, 6'3" to 6'4" height, but 6 foot and above isn't that bad. Good physique, broad shoulders, narrow waist, wider hips to waist ratio. Money comes into it as well. Status is attractive too. Good social skills is also an element. Confidence, of course. Yeah, so all of those things I listed, I think, go into it. And also youth, that's probably a big one as well. I don't think many women are finding 50, 60, 70-year-old men too attractive. The most attractive people out there, like when you look at male models, the highest paid ones are in their 20s, if not 30s.
All right, cool. And then Mr. Slave, what makes a man attractive?
What makes a man attractive?
He said Mr. Slave, so I guess he's actually forgiven.
Yeah. Well, either one of you guys. You guys are now formally known as either Mr. Slave or Team Slave.
Confidence. Physically, I guess it depends on the person.
Right. But I think you also have to be sensitive to the emotional needs and all the needs of the woman. If you're not sensitive, then you're not going to last. And if you don't actually do anything in the relationship, it's not going to last. I mean, maybe you can be a model and attract attention for the first couple of seconds, but in the long run, you have to be a very nice person. You have to be a good listener. You just have to be a really nice person. So you got to be a nice guy. So ultimately, it's being a nice guy. Nice guys finish last, but they get the best results.
Okay. Now we're going to open it up. It's going to be more of a free-for-all style. So let's just minimize the talking over and bam.
Yes. So if you don't mind, Mr. Slave, that's the stupidest shit that I ever heard in my entire life. Where did you ever come up with this absurd idea that women want simps. They use you for gifts and your money, and then they toss you in the trash can, which basically is where you belong, right? That's kind of what you get for being a simp, isn't it?
No, you get that regardless, whether you're a simp or not.
No, you don't get that regardless. Where'd you come up with that?
Just now, I just came up with it.
Yeah.
I would treat every man the same. It's just, if someone's treating me well, I'll have them around more. But if they're an asshole, why would I keep them around?
Well, I don't know. You need to ask all of your female comrades that same question, because seemingly what women seem to be the most attracted to or the most into are jerks, assholes, pricks. Otherwise, you end up with a chain around your neck and, you're on the ground in front of a woman, right?
I guess it depends on what kind of women you're trying to attract. If you're attracting low quality women that have low self-esteem, of course they're going to go for jerks because that's all they can get. But if
I don't think you're qualified to tell us what a high quality woman is.
But
right?
where are you getting your qualifications to make comments on what women find attractive when you're a guy who's presumably not attracted to men? I mean, even if you say that you're appealing to the empirical evidence, even if you say that you're appealing to the empirical evidence, what you're talking about are, again, overgeneralizations, and probably with women under the age of 25. Women get older than 25, and what women want is not easily say, oh, all women want jerks. That's like saying that, all women want to marry their mothers. You can say that, and maybe for some people it's the case, but to denigrate like everybody and just kind of honestly like be rude, I don't understand how you think that that's gonna like make a good point.
Let me
if
ask
you want to say that there are,
if
you want to say, just let me
finish.
If you want to say that there are toxic elements in relationships, then I'd have to ask, what's the relationship that these women had with their fathers? Maybe that toxic relationship is repeating a pattern because they had a bad relationship with their dad. So this isn't just like a women want X and men are being taken advantage of. There's a dynamic going on which is affecting both men and women. And also, we're only talking about straight couples. I'll just point this out. But there are dynamics that we come to relationships with that are patterns from previous toxic dynamics. So to kind of make this about women having this deciding that they want to go for jerks, I think is pretty simplistic.
Now, Christy, can I ask you a question? Are you married?
Does it matter?
It does matter.
Why? Okay.
Well, because if you start the conversation off by asking what my qualifications are, well, I've been married for 14 years and I have
one woman,
and I have 5 daughters.
To one woman, right? But you're not
hang
dating your
on.
daughters.
Let me finish.
You're not dating your daughters.
But my daughters do. But my daughters do date, right?
Okay, so your daughters are jerks who are trying to manipulate men?
No, but I can see the type of men that women generally are attracted to. I can still use my powers of observation to see.
Okay, so who are some of these
that
women?
being chained up on the floor?
So wait.
Do you notice?
Alex, you kept
notice.
Alex, can I just say, Alex, that you was like, you was telling Andrew to be quiet earlier when for interrupting Christy, but then I'm not being funny, but Christy just interrupted like 3-4 times.
No, you're right.
I was literally about to just say that. Actually.
It's okay. It's all right. I don't mind. I don't mind that stuff. So I just wanted to get into it though, right? It does matter. Are you or aren't you? My guess is no, right?
I'm not going to answer the question because it's irrelevant to the question about what women find attractive.
Well, even if it is,
the question isn't
just humor us. Is Christy married?
I'm not going to say. It's
right.
Really
You're not going to say, right?
Well, it's ad hominem. Stop the ad hominem.
It's not an ad hom.
It's a privacy issue.
It's not even an ad hom. You don't know what you're talking about, as usual, Mr. Slave. So my guess is that Christy is not married. Most sociologists, especially female sociologists, are always great at telling you what women and men and what makes them tick.
Isn't it great that I'm not a sociologist?
Let me finish, please.
Inside you're a political scientist, right? Aren't you a political scientist?
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, I'm asking you a question now.
Yes, I'm an empirical.
It doesn't matter.
So I'm gonna. So I'm just curious, right? I see one guy down on his knees, an unmarried degen in the center who has an open relationship with his girlfriend. An unmarried over the hill woman, and I don't even know where Wheat Waffles is, and you want to have a productive conversation about what women find attractive. I find this
humorous, you leave.
Right?
I suggest you leave because we want to have that conversation,
and we're having it. We're having it, but I'm pointing out the irony of it. That's all. Just pointing out that it's ironic to me.
Okay. Who wants to make a point next?
I'm happy to give Andrew a run for his money because I do disagree with him slightly on the point he made earlier that women just chase jerks, but I'm going to come at it from a completely different angle than to what Christy was going down. I don't think women are attracted to jerks just for the sake of them being jerks. Rather, I think that women are attracted to men that are attractive. In other words, like good looking, have attractive features. Like if a guy is ugly and he's a jerk, women aren't going to be attracted to them. Rather,
They will if he has a lot
women
of
are going
money.
to
Andrew, let me
rather women are going to be attracted to the men that are attractive, that are good looking, high status, and rich, that tick all the three boxes of LMS: looks, money, status.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with being a jerk or not. That's like
okay. So hang on. I'll go ahead and concede a couple of points, right? I tend to agree with you that obviously women are going to want the cream of the crop when it comes to men, even like 3s, 4s, 5s. They still want the cream of the crop when it comes to men. And women have become entitled little snot bitches, haven't they? Where they think that if they're a 6, they're somehow entitled to a 10, right? I see a lot of that. So I'll concede a little bit of ground here on that point. But, you haven't really dove into the money effect and how often you see older men who are really rich and ugly as sin who have hot 20-year-old women.
But this is just beta boxing. That's not real attraction. Like
Yeah,
these
but-
women don't actually like these guys, and the women have all of the leverage in these relationships as well. Just a man having money that isn't attractive, and you actually see in cases where the man runs out of money. Let's say that he goes bankrupt, his business goes tits up, whatever happens, that the woman leaves him as soon as he loses his money, which proves that there's no underlying attraction there.
She'll leave him if he's 10 and rich too and take half his shit. Like that's not the prerogative for a woman being attracted to a man is definitely different. Men are visual. We're much more visual when it comes to that. Women can have different criteria that they're attracted to. Take an ugly bastard like Sean Connery, and that's a good example of an old man that women seem to just like throw themselves at, and he's ugly as sin. Right? Wheat waffle.
Are you talking about Sean Connery today, or are you talking about in his prime?
Even today, they go fucking
in his prime.
He
was in his prime. He was a Chad. He was James Bond, for God's sake, and he was
but I'm talking about that motherfucker when he was in the movie The Rock. You know what I mean? He was old. He was haggard. Right? Something about the accent, I guess, must have did it for him because they just threw themselves at the guy.
Okay, this is a very isolated example, and I don't think it's representative of the wider population. Like these aren't the these one-off celebrities that are past prime, and like you get a handful of women that are still going crazy for them. It's not representative of the wider population. Like if you just look at the mainstream media, who are the face of who's shoved in the face of women more than anyone else? Like if you look at TikTok, Instagram, it's the Chads, it's the stereotypical guys who are in their early 20s, late 20s, early 30s at the most, tall, jacked, low body fat percentage, good face, etc.
What the hell are you talking about? Some of the ugly look, let's take news networks as a great example of this, right? Lots of hot women on news networks, lots of ugly fucking men though, right? Whole lot of ugly men on news networks, not being shoved down your throat. The T and A from hot women's being shoved down your throat, but not Chad men, right? That seems to not be a demographic that's pushed as much as the young, beautiful 20, 25-year-old women, right? Wheat waffles.
Yeah, I would say that probably is quite accurate, but I do get what you mean. As in when you look at like news shows or anything on mainstream TV, you're probably more likely to see an ugly man than an ugly woman. Like it's more.
So Wheat Waffles, what's the answer? What's your answer? He just completely destroyed your entire philosophy, completely annihilated to zero.
Mr. Slave, I think Andrew can speak for himself. Thank you very much.
No, just answer the question. You're avoiding answering the question. Andrew spoke.
Okay,
now answer. Don't repeat the question.
I'm answering the question. Yeah, like even when
I let my slaves speak for me from time to time. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Wheat Waffles, your entire philosophy has been completely annihilated. Don't repeat the question. Just answer.
Well, I was about to answer the question until you interrupted me for a second time. But anyway,
there you go.
Yeah, I will agree with what Andrew said, that yeah, you're more likely to see a ugly man on these media networks than an ugly woman
because
they're more
you can
cutthroat.
push.
Andrew,
But
let
even
finish.
when you look, even when you look at the men, like, you know, is that on average they're going to be more attractive, and
No,
I
they're
don't know
not.
about in terms of
No,
measuring their
they're not.
attractiveness
They're
to their
Andrew, let him
ugly.
finish.
faces.
Let him finish.
Hang
However,
on. I gotta cut in for just a second. Hang on, I'll give it right back to him. I just got to make a quick clarification here,
go.
right? Because you're just objectively wrong about this. Ed Schultz looked like he had a pair of balls attached to his chin. Wheat waffles. He was ugly as sin. He was a fat fuck. Alan Combs, ugly, wormy, squeamy little guy.
Rush Limbaugh.
Right, Rush Limbaugh. He's a good example too. Men of status. That's why. It's because they have status. They can still be pushed because they have status. Whereas the female anchors, where's all the old haggard female anchors? Well, they're nowhere, right? They're nowhere, anywhere. Only the hot model.
Clarification, I see. Okay, Wee Waffles, finish your point.
yeah, well, if you want to go to the mainstream, then, you know, just take a look at movies. Who are the people that are playing the jocks and, you know, main male star, the chads of the movie? It's going to be somebody like Chris Hemsworth, isn't it?
It's going to be a bunch of 50-year-old men who are pretending they're high school students.
It's not
Right?
50-year-old men.
Yeah,
it's going to be the chads. These are the guys who play the, you know, romance lover, the like main star of the movie that women are going after. But then when you look at the person that they employ for the guy who's the butt of all of the jokes, who do they get, you know, in that kind of role? It's the unattractive, overweight guy. Like, who was the one in The Wolf of Wall Street? Alex, you know his name because I remember you bringing up in there.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, who was the overweight guy?
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, yeah, him. Like, they always get the overweight, unattractive guy who plays the butt of all of the jokes, and he's the laughing stock of the movie. But then the attractive person is the one who, you know, who's the actual love interest. It's the Chad.
No, you're wrong. The reason that they have the comedic effect of having a fat guy there to take the butt of the jokes is because it's fun to laugh at fat people. And we've all been doing it for as long as we've been alive. And we're going to keep doing it because it's fun to watch fat ass Chris Farley roll down a hill. It's fun to watch that. I don't know why it's fun to watch it, but men like to watch that shit. We like to watch other men getting hurt for no particular reason. That's why you have shows like Jackass that did so well, movies like Jackass that did so well. Now, when you move over to entertainment, especially, no, there's all kinds of smarmy little non-Chad men who take leading roles all the time. Case in point, a name you brought up, Leonardo DiCaprio. He was the main lead in the Titanic. Not the Chadliest, studliest looking guy I ever saw, I got to tell you. Not the type of dude who's 6'4" and bench pressing, 350 pounds and this type of thing, right? He's kind of a short, skinny, scrawny nobody. Right, but he got the leading role, was a mega hit, and the whole thing was a love story, right?
Okay, he might not have been the tallest or the jackedest of the movie. They probably could have got somebody who had more potential in that department. But in terms of facial attractiveness, he is probably the top 1% in Hollywood that you could.
What are you talking? He looks like a.
Can I ask a question?
You're Andrew. Can I just say one more thing?
Go ahead.
Andrew, you're thinking too much to the male gaze. I can tell that's what you're doing because you're mainly thinking about how jacked a guy is and how tall he is, how good of a fighter he might be. Because you describe Leonardo DiCaprio as just some skinny dude, but according to the female gaze, Leonardo DiCaprio is extremely attractive, especially when he was in his prime when he played the role for Titanic, because he's got an extremely attractive face. This is what women are actually thinking about in terms of attractiveness, because he's got the really good eye area, almond eye shape, really good hair, jawline, etc. Like, that's what women would see as an extremely attractive face.
Okay, we're going to let Andrew respond really quickly, and then we're going to go to Christy. Go ahead.
Okay, my point is these giant Momoa style characters who are just these massive, buff, Chadley looking dudes, as you might consider them. They don't always or even often play leading roles in these romantic, comedies or Hollywood comedies. A lot of these things are done by connection, anyhow. But when we're talking about mass media in general, it's tits and ass from young women that is pushed, not Chadley or Studley men. And I can give you example after example after example of that being true. Basically, once a woman hits 40, they're out, right? They're out. They're playing either the grandma on screen for Hollywood, or they're not getting the anchor role. They're not getting any of that unless they get all the plastic surgery on earth to try to make them look like 20-year-old women again. So no, I disagree heavily. I don't think that the media is necessarily pushing the chadliest looking men. I think that they actually push girly looking men, or they push these ugly bastards like you find on Fox News and CNN. And like she said, Rush Limbaugh, these types of people. It's easy to become very popular and be a high status man, even if you're ugly as sin, Wheat Waffles.
All right, let's let Christy go, and then go ahead.
So a couple of things. One, I want to just do, I don't want to say a correction, but your use of the male gaze and the female gaze was unfamiliar to me. So, I mean, I'm on my phone, right? So forgive me for using Wiki, but my understanding of the male gaze, which is confirmed here, is that it's the act of depicting women in the visual arts from a male heterosexual perspective in such a way that the male gaze is the man behind the camera, the men in the cinematic representation. So the actors, like, how do they view the women, and then the spectator. And the idea is it's a sexualization and a reduction of women, not that it's a hot guy. So I just wanted to know, like, where you got your info on that, if that's what you meant. And then in terms of the female gaze, I did look that up too. I don't find an equivalent version of the female gaze here. What I do have is that as a feminist theory term referring to the gaze of the female spectator character in directional arts that has more than gender as an issue. It's, I guess it is in some ways, I'm sorry, I should say it's about the male gaze, which represents not only the gaze of heterosexual male viewer, but also the gaze of the male character. And in contemporary usage, the female gaze has been used to refer to how the perspective of a female director brings to a film that might be presented differently from the view of a male of the subject. So just that. And then also, because of the conversation you're having, it kind of asked me to have you both step back. So, I mean, Wheat Waffles, your argument was that women find certain things attractive, and I think Andrew's was that men find certain things attractive, and you're pointing to media as a representation of why that's the case. But I would point to the fact that if you look at who is in control, who writes the scripts, who directs it, who produces it, who casts it, who markets it, it is predominantly men. So clearly it is men who are feeding into these narratives, who are eliminating women who they think are too old, whether or not the audience wants to get rid of them. And so by pointing to the media as an evidence for your argument, you're kind of pointing to actually the construction of a reality, not reality itself. Because Wheat Waffles, when I look around, when I hear your description of what apparently I find attractive, which isn't what I find attractive, that's such a small percentage of the population that whatever your percentage or perception of attractiveness is, there aren't enough men in that category for the available heterosexual women out there. And when I go out in my normal day, I see couples together of different body sizes, of similar body sizes, of different ages together. And so clearly women are having relationships with men that are very much outside of the very narrow spectrum you drew. That's just like looking outside and thinking about your family members. Like, is everyone in your family married to somebody super hot? Because my family isn't. So I just kind of think there's a disconnect here in your argument between using the media as evidence for what people in real life think, when the media is completely constructed by predominantly like what men think people want.
Yeah, but
I've got something really important to say. I thought you was going a little bit off track in the middle of that, but you kind of got back to it towards the end. Like, I do actually somewhat agree with you, on the point that you made on the last sentence, where like the media is mostly constructed by men, so it is going to have their influence on it in some respect. But here's a more authentic and naturally emerging example. When you look at TikTok, like, we all know what TikTok is. It's just short clips of people doing a silly little dance or like comedic video or whatever. It's only like 20 seconds long for each clip. And the way that a particular person or video will get pushed to the top and be shown in the faces of thousands, if not millions of people, is based on how well it plays with the algorithm. So if people watch the video for long enough, and lots of people do that, then the video is going to be very popular, and then the algorithm is going to push it to the top. So then it gets shown to even more people. It's completely naturally emerging if you look at it in that respect. There's no man behind a directing chair who's, hiring and firing people and choosing what person participates in the set. So if we go based on this, when you look at when you look at TikTok, the guys that are the most popular are the chads that I've been talking about all along, the ones with the good jawline, the good hair, who are young, low body fat percentage, and so on and so forth. I'm repeating myself here, but this shows, I believe it's a really convincing point that it shows that if you go back to the original question, what makes a man attractive, the natural emergence of these attractive men shows that.
I have 2 follow-up questions related directly to that. All right, Andrew.
Wait, Mr. Slave, let's let Christy respond because and then you're going to be right after Christy. Okay, go ahead.
1, does your TikTok example control for gay men? Because you're gay men viewers would go for exactly that kind of, stereotype body type you're talking about. And if you're conflating all of that to straight women, I think that there's a spurious correlation problem in there. And 2, would you also be willing to stipulate or agree that what someone finds attractive, but who they date might not be a perfect match? In other words, I can look at an actor and think he's hot, but the people in real life that I date don't look like that actor. So I'm just wondering. Those are my 2 questions.
Whoa! The original question was what makes
respond really quickly, and then it's Mr.
The original question was what makes a man attractive, not what makes a man somebody that you would want to date. So I think you're kind of,
that's fair.
derailing a little bit here.
That's fair.
I don't think that point is relevant. That second question. As for the first one, if I'm honest, it really did sound like a clutch at the straws. Like the gay population, I don't know the exact figures, but
on TikTok
it's less than 5%. It's less than 5% of the population. I'm pretty sure. I don't know.
Less than that. It's less than that.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, for gay men, it's less than that.
Yeah. So and most of my audience are heterosexual, who are interested in dating women, and so they're going to be interested in what those women find attractive. So, things might be slightly different for gay men. I don't know, but just based on my audience and what they're looking for, they're trying to find out what women find attractive.
Yeah. How many gay, I don't even get this. How is it a spurious connection? How many gay men do you think are going to straight men's TikTok in order to watch this tiny population segment? I don't really.
Well, again, I mean, it's not like TikTok is representative of the national population. It skews younger, it skews male. Like a lot of social media, and so it's not, again, even the sample itself is not representative of like the general population. So that was my point.
Well, the general population is pretty much straight.
Wait, hey, hold up. Right? Mr. Slave has been waiting for a very long time. Let's let him go.
Yeah, I mean, everybody agrees. I can see that, in the looks department, the first couple of seconds are important more than anything else, obviously. But in the long run, what makes a man attractive, you can say in the short run, medium run, long run. So in the long run, I think looks doesn't mean anything. There's many other things, but not looks. So what?
Could you say that again? Could you say that again? Did you say in the short term, looks mean nothing? In the
short term, yeah. I'm becoming British now. In the short term, of course, a hot guy shows up. And everybody looks at him, even men. Everybody looks at him. He's nice to look at. But the question is, in the long run, what makes a man attractive in the long run, right? I'm not interested in a few seconds of interaction. I want relationships, long-term, meaningful, deep relationships.
And you're willing to pay for them.
What?
And you're willing to pay for them, right?
All right,
random ad homs don't add to the debate.
Yeah, let's let Mr. Slave finish. Okay,
it's not an ad hom. It's an observation.
Hang on, just let him finish, dude.
Anyway, ahead, the looks are. It's an advantage to have good looks in the first couple of seconds, not more than that, in my experience, and in other men that I've seen. And in the long run, it's everything else. In the very long run, you just have to be very nice, confident. Obviously, you got to have money. You can't live, on the street, even though
sense of humor,
right? Yeah. So you got to be a nice guy, but not looks. Looks are irrelevant very quickly.
All right, we waffles.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you have a massive response to that, so I'll let you go next. Then we'll go
Okay,
to
yeah. I have 2 points to make. The first one's really important. So number one, yeah, you did actually say something that has an element of truth to it. That in the short run, looks, of course, is going to be the most important by far. But then that kind of dissipates once you get to the medium and longer term. It's still going to be relevant, but in the long run, things like personality and money and status start to come into play a little bit more. But just look at the way that dating is heading at the moment. Online dating it's already mainstream. In fact, I could show you the data. I don't have it to hand, but if I could just remember the figures off the top of my head, the most common way people date nowadays is via online. So not meeting through warm approach or cold approach. It is online. And if you look at that environment, you've got what, like half a second to make an impression on a woman. This is why most guys get, less than 5 matches per week. And that's not an exaggeration. Like, you have to be in the top 10% of guys if you want to have any sort of success in online dating, because most guys aren't making that initial first impression, which is all based off looks. So yeah, it could all be well and good, thinking that your personality is going to save you in the long run. But if you're not even able to get to that stage in the first place because you're getting weeded out at the very first hurdle because of your looks, then it's no savior. Do you get what I'm saying on that point? I'll let you respond to that, and then I'll raise my second point.
I mean, in my experience, I don't consider myself good looking, but I'm getting a lot of hits on Tinder all the time. So, I mean, you have to look good, but it's not just looking good. It's you have to know how to smile. You have to know what types of pictures to upload. At the end of the day, when a woman looks at your picture, you're transmitting a whole story. It's not just you can. I mean, Alex has gone over men who look terrific in real life, but because of the photos they use on Tinder, they complain that they're not getting any hits, and then Alex teaches them how to fix it. And it's about telling a story. And so yeah, I mean, I don't have any stats. I'm sure very nice men.
Anecdotally, a friend of mine was not getting a lot of hits on Tinder, and then he changed his first line, like 5 reasons to go out on a date with me, and they were all funny, and his like interaction went up. So his pictures didn't change. He didn't change.
Well, how old was your friend roughly?
In his mid-30s.
He was in his mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
So the field opens up a lot more for men in their mid-30s anyway.
Right, but he was getting passed over with the same pictures before he decided to be a bit more witty and funny and light, as opposed to just a bio with it.
Gave himself some personality.
Well, yeah, and basically it was to try to make someone, make them smile, make them laugh, have a good first impression.
But do you think that if your friend was just like dog shit ugly and then still had a great sense of humor, that he would have had the same results?
Well, I mean, he is losing his hair and he's got a bit of a pudge, and it's not like his pictures weren't cut. They weren't all like from the shoulders up, they were full body ones. And like I said, he found it was more about how he first presented himself.
Did he actually get good looking women?
I don't go on his dates with him. He was happy. He got a lot of engagement. He spent several. Well,
I mean, it's important because if he's just like netting ugly broads, then
I guess maybe he was looking for a connection that wasn't just based on physicality, but maybe a different kind of.
All men are looking for a connection based on physicality. All of them.
Well, maybe the connection made physically isn't just about a certain body type or a certain age range, but about how a person holds themselves or what they're like. I mean, I know that you have a very dim view of men and women. I'm learning about you from this, but not everybody does.
Wait, I do. I have dim. Wait. I gotta hang on. Let me respond. So, because I want to get in. What exactly do you think is my dim view of men or women? What I've said is factual and truthful.
You called them women snot bitches, I think.
No. I said that the modern woman,
who's alive today,
Western woman has become a snotty, entitled little brat. Yeah, and the reason for this is because they've been trained that men, and it's mostly true, that men will kiss their ass when they're young and beautiful, and then they end up hitting the wall, and men aren't kissing their ass anymore, and they go, oh shit, what do I do? This sucks. My life is not good anymore. And that's a terrifically bad message to send to young women. They have like a superpower, a mega power, but
That
it's
is a
temporary.
fascinating fictional story.
No, it's not.
on the
It's not.
basis
Well,
of
listen.
your
Why don't
views.
we compare actual studies,
And
stats, and figures then?
I wanted to get back. Also, your dim view of men is to reduce all men to basically, not have any interest in
Christy,
what a woman's ideas
okay.
are or thinks are, or want to have someone that they can talk
Great,
to,
but let's
someone
get
they
back
can
to
share
the-
their
Andrew,
life with.
let her finish.
Well, I want to get
So-
back to the woman thing here.
In
Let
that
her
way,
finish.
your question was, why do I think you have a dim view of men and women? Because I just think you tend to reduce them down to the worst stereotypes of culture and then falsely impute them on individuals.
Well, I think you're wrong, and let's go through
That's-
it. And I think
you
you're
can
going
be
to end
wrong
up.
about that
I
too.
think you're going to end up agreeing with everything that I'm about to say. Let's find out. Would you say that men are more attracted, on average, to women in their 20s or women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s?
Do you know what the ecological fallacy
Are
is?
you going to answer the question?
No, I'm just saying that the
Do you
conclusion
know
you're
what answering
drawing
a question is?
from
It's a
No,
yes
wait,
or no
hang on,
question.
Andrew. Let her finish. Let her finish, and then you can go. And you
Well,
can-
Here's the thing is, when you talk about on average, you're aggregating up, which means that doesn't represent any one individual person. You're talking about
That's why
a
we use
number.
averages, Christy.
Right, and that is a
Andrew, let her
construct.
finish. Go
It's
ahead.
a construct number that allows us to understand the mean. You could also go the mode.
But
You
I'm
could go-
asking about
right?
the mean.
There are a lot of different
Andrew,
ways we
let her
can.
finish.
There's a lot of ways we can derive up those descriptive statistics, but none of them are going to be able to allow us to know what's in a person's heart.
What do
And-
you think, again, Christy? Do you think that men generally are more attracted to 20-year-old women or women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s?
If you've got data on that, I'd love to see it.
I'm just asking you. What do you
No,
think?
I would refer to the data.
Okay,
if
and
you have
so
some-
okay,
do you have
so
some?
yes, I do. I can produce.
Okay.
If you want something so obvious, if you
Well,
want the
this is
data
it.
on it, I can give it to you. But it's not controversial. So can you
Right,
just
I'm just
answer a
asking-
non-controversial question?
Once you provide the data.
But so
Because here's the
you
thing,
have
you
no-
want me to
have
go
no
from
point-
stereotype, you want me to go from stereotypes, not from information. I prefer to draw my conclusions from
Well,
data.
what
So
would you
have
if
that
if
data,
you
I'm
had
happy to look
no?
at it.
Let's just say for a second, we'll just keep all things equal. You had no access to any data ever again for the rest of your life, and somebody asked you what you thought. What would you say?
I think I would look up the data because I don't
I
want
just
to
said data.
engage
There
in-
is no data.
Well, then I wish I've got a great idea for a study. I'm sure somebody will fund this. I'm going to go out and ask some questions. I'm gonna
Why
pair up
can't
with
you
a
just answer the
sociologist.
question? It's so
Andrew,
obvious.
She's still talking. Just let her finish. Let her finish, and then you can grill her.
The
further.
point is that you want me to appeal to a stereotype rather than data, and I won't do that.
Okay, so wait. You live your life only through appealing to data only.
When I can.
You don't make any observations whatsoever on
When it
your
comes
own.
when it comes to an empirical claim about what a group of people do, think, or say, there's got to be data on it, or it's a study that should be funded.
Okay, got it. So you think, and I'll pull them up and I'll send them to you. But then after I send them to you and you find out that men are mostly attracted to young women, which is the most uncontroversial statement anybody's ever made in the history of statements, let's assume for a second that that's true, that they are, because they are. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they're attracted mostly
So
to younger
what is
women?
the sample of man that I'm supposed to? You want me to engage in mind reading now? Do you realize how ridiculous that is?
No, I'm going to send you the studies right now.
Right,
for
but the
something that's
studies won't.
painfully
Okay,
obvious.
even if you're, when you produce your study, and let's say your empirical finding is there, how am I supposed to know what any individual man thinks? How would you? Why?
I'm not
why
asking.
would you?
I'm asking
yes,
you.
you are.
I'm asking you. What do you think? Why do you think on average men are attracted to that?
Again, you're asking me to speculate on millions of men, and
Do
I
you,
don't
so
have
you
the
don't
data.
have you don't
No,
have
I'm
an answer to
saying-
any basic questions at all.
I'm saying the kinds of answers you're giving aren't based on data; they're based on your stereotypes and your biases, and that's not information. That's
No,
just
no.
my
Andrew, let her
opinion.
finish. Let her finish, dude. Come on,
Okay.
let her finish. Go ahead.
So your biased opinions aren't conclusions, even if you treat them like such.
Got you. Thank you so much for that, Christy. Let me
Yeah,
ask
no
you
problem, no
this
problem.
because this is very important to me,
Yeah.
right? You do realize that everything that I'm saying is backed by data. You want me to send you the data, I can do that. I just think it's absurd that you would ask for data on something that's so apparent and obvious. And it seems like the only reason you are is because you don't want to actually engage with what I'm saying on the supposed dim views that I have. On average, men are attracted to younger women. It's not controversial.
Here's the thing is, in my field, when I make empirical claims, I have to back them up and cite my sources. And I hold myself to that standard. And if you're going to force me to answer a question on those terms, I'm going to keep my standards.
So
This is a YouTube debate.
so you want studies? You want me to produce studies for any observable
You said you
claim?
had them. Well,
I'll
you
give
only
them.
made one.
Well, I'm going to give them to you. But again, I just want to make sure going forward, every time I engage with you on any claim whatsoever, even if it's obvious and uncontroversial, you want me to produce a study or data for it?
Here you're claiming to speak for what people say, or you want me to speak for what people say, or you want to make an assertion about what there is out empirically. I think this is getting really pedantic and boring, and we're leaving out a lot of people here. So I hope we can move on. I think I've restated my standards multiple times. Those are my standards.
Okay.
And I hold myself to them.
Do you have
a study for that though?
Okay, let's get back to Mr. Slave, because we kind of left him out to dry like a slave. So I'm gonna unmute his mic. Go ahead.
I mean, we were having a conversation. Everything that came up was I asked my queen. You don't want to share?
I mean, I actually agree with Andrew that it makes sense if men are more attracted to younger women, both physically, mentally. It just makes sense. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying for whatever, but it doesn't. Why wouldn't men be more attracted to younger women? They're young, they're vulnerable, like they're more attractive to look at. They're funner to be around because you get to experience new things with them that they haven't experienced. They don't have like pre-exposed stigmas like trauma and stuff like that. So they're not like, oh, I hate all men, like most older women are. They're more bitter because they've been hurt before. Like younger women, they're young, impressionable, exciting, attractive. Why wouldn't? It makes no sense, like, to me.
I'm going to answer the question from an evolutionary point of view.
You can find that data, by the way, in the private chat.
Okay.
But the highlight for that, just real quick, I got to give her the highlight. The highlight is that even by this poll, just this one, but I can give you as many as you want, 60% of men are attracted to younger women. Okay.
This is an online dating poll, we should say, right?
Wait,
let's
I
can get what data do you want?
Real quickly, Wee Waffles is going to go. Then we'll go to you, Andrew. You can explain the study. Then Christy can refute the study. Okay, Wee Waffles, go ahead.
Okay, so in terms of evolution, the reason why men would be attracted to younger women is because they're more fertile. They're going to give birth to healthier offspring who are going to be stronger, increasing their chance of survival to then they can reproduce. When women get older, the quality of their eggs decline. The offspring that they produce, if they have kids, are going to be more unhealthy. So they're not going to have as high a chance to produce. And once women get to a certain age, they stop producing eggs altogether, or at least stop releasing them. So it's going to be impossible for them to have babies. And what would be the point of a man being attracted to that? Because that it would be a fruitless effort to try to seduce that woman, because he's not going to be able to pass on his genes, because she's never going to be able to have children. So I think when you look at the question through that lens, it makes perfect sense for why men would be attracted to women between the ages of 18 to 25 the most.
All right, let's let Christy respond to that, and we'll go to Andrew. And
hang on. There's two additional studies that are linked in there that express that men are mostly, by almost virtually every study that I can find anywhere when I've researched this, they're mostly attracted to women in their early to mid 20s. Doesn't mean they're not attracted to other women too, but it seems to be a universal constant that they like young, hot women. Okay, while that might be shocking to you, the rest of us go,
no,
yeah.
I'm just asking you to back. You're taking this as if I don't believe you. Here's the thing: is if you make an empirical claim, you should be able to back it up. And I'm glad that you
not if it's obvious. It doesn't need to be backed up.
And I'm glad that you admitted that it's not just
to Wee Waffles and Andrew. Okay, go ahead, Christy.
Yeah, so it's also, I'm glad that you also qualified it by saying that it's not just younger women that men are attracted at looking at. It might be one of their more popular categories, but it is not. You're not narrowly defining men by this narrower age range.
So, okay.
So Alex, you make Christy answer my point.
Oh yeah, hang on,
I
Andrew.
just
let's
want to
let-
I just want to
hold on,
respond real
hold on,
quick,
hold
and then
on.
I'm done. Then I'm
Okay,
done.
fine. Okay.
So I
respond
just
real
want to say
quick.
this one last thing, which is, yes, it's true. If you ask me for a study on something that's empirical, I should have to give it to you. I agree with that 100%. But it becomes pedantic when I say something that's obvious, and you say, "But my studies." It's
Yeah, but
obvious. It's
here-
obvious.
In the link that you gave me, it says, but there's another layer to this data. I'm reading from Business Insider. Although men at every age seem to be attracted to very young women, they most often message women who are closer to their own age.
Yes, but what are they the most attracted to? That was my point. Not who they're messaging. Who cares who they're messaging?
Right.
They're messaging who they think they have the best odds of getting.
Again, you keep thinking this is adversarial, and I just think that this is basic. Like, if you're
Well,
gonna
it's
make an
becoming
empirical claim-
adversarial
No.
because I can't have a discussion with you if I say the sky is blue and you go, "But my data."
No, that's not at all what I've said. I wish you would stop misrepresenting me.
Okay, let's let We Waffles. Okay, we gotta keep it to limited to like 2 conversation threads because there's too many threads being weaved. All right, We Waffles, you had a question for Christy was gonna respond to the point you made. Christy, do you We Waffles this point or do you remember it?
Yeah. I want Chrissy to respond to my evolution argument of why men are more attracted to younger women. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I think my problem with Evo Psych it's that it's post hoc rationalization a lot of the time,
Wait,
and
post
so
what?
post hoc rationalization.
Can you just explain that quickly?
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
so
not
it's basically
sure on
saying, so there's what you're saying is that before the fact because of after the fact that right now we're in a society where, like, big boobs and big butts are currently hot, whereas like 30, 50 years ago it was like a really rakish thin thing, that you're imputing on men things that you think men in the past would have found attractive. And so, and I know that there are studies that look at skin being clearer and body shape and birthing hips and all that kind of stuff. But the fact is that we aren't living in primitive times, and that there's a lot of other reasons. Like, not everybody wants kids. I know this is a shocker, but some people, don't want to have kids. And so in that case, it just kind of throws out your whole logic for why Evo Psych would say they would get with someone.
Whoa,
And
whoa,
so-
hold on a second. We might not live in primitive times anymore, but our minds are still going to be programmed the same way. You can't just unravel evolution overnight. Our minds are still going to be programmed the same, like as in the way that they would have been, over tens of thousands of years of evolution. Like, nothing's changed. We still have the same minds.
But what's attractive has changed.
No.
You
That's
think
not-
if you
Why-
look
why
at the
would it?
1920s,
Andrew,
look at
hang on, let's
stuff in the 1920s, right? The whole 1920s was all about like barely anything at all. 1960s too. We go through these phases of kind of like having women being more curvaceous, and other times
Okay,
where they're
there
being
is
more
some
thin.
sort of
Well,
cultural shift. I'll admit there is some cultural shift, but it's not going to be like anywhere near in
But
comparison to.
I think it's pretty reasonable to think that wanting to have like not having rotting teeth, not having skin disease,
Okay, so if you're
so-
willing to accept those
so-
things, why not youth? Why not youth?
Well, I guess there's a high correlation between youth and those things, right? Between having clear skin and all that kind of stuff.
Wait,
I'm not.
So the things that correlate with youth, you'll accept are always going to be seen as attractive, but not youth in itself.
No,
It just
but I'm
doesn't
saying
make
no,
sense.
you're jumping to a conclusion. I'm saying that the reason, yes, that people who are youthful have those more often not possess those qualities unless there's been some like massive plague or something.
But wait a second.
So in terms, are we talking about what women find attractive in men?
Well,
So
no,
is
Christy, there's something you said there I have to address. So you are correct that there are points in history where there might be cultural things that happen where a specific feature on a woman might be found to be attractive due to some type of cultural conditioning. But it's always been true throughout history that men are attracted to young women. It doesn't matter if the cultural accentuation is right now big boobs are the thing or small boobs are the thing. They're still always attracted to young women because young women are fertile. That's how it works.
Okay, so you think that all men want to get women pregnant?
I think that
It's
on
universal.
average, the fertility of a woman is directly correlative to how attractive a man finds her. Yes. And that youthful appearance with the nice hips and all of that.
So
That
here's the
why
thing
do we
again,
find them attractive?
you're assuming that I don't think that youth could be a factor because I asked you for evidence, right? And I asked you for evidence to prove a point, which is that I want to know more than just your opinion. I want you to be able to empirically ground some of your opinions.
I did empirically
right?
ground my opinions.
And you did. You absolutely did.
But the
And
thing, I didn't
also-
need to. It was obvious.
Wait, Andrew,
No,
let her finish,
again,
let her finish, let her
what
finish.
you think is obvious and what I want to make sure that I understand what you're thinking about and what the data says and what the sample size was, right? Because these are important to me to make
Which all
drawing
backed up what was
conclusions.
obvious.
No, it didn't back up what was obvious.
Yeah, it did back up what was
Wait,
obvious.
Because
Let her finish. Go ahead.
yeah, so I don't even actually at this point I don't even know what the question is anymore because
my-
we're
my-
so
so
off
what-
track.
so
I don't know
I'm
if
gonna
anyone
say
else
one
is
more
like,
time.
why are we back?
Let
to
me
this
restate this
thing
because
that
this is
Andrew's
important.
mad that I asked him to back up his claim.
Because let me restate this one more time. Men have always been attracted to youthful women, always throughout all of history. Now, I can't give you empirics for this other than great poems and what people have written down in times past, and the fact that, well, men have been breeding with young women because they're young and fertile. That's why they breed with them. That's
and
why we
again,
have a human population. Now, you
I
might
only
say,
asked you to back up. No, don't only what I'm going to say because you don't know what I'm going to say.
but you did
right?
say, you already
No, I
said.
asked you to back up your conclusions. That's what I
Okay,
asked
so
you.
here I'm backing up my conclusions. When I tell you that, when you say, oh, there's some cultural references that you can make where, oh, big booties are in right now, that's true. But they're still the most attractive for whatever men are into that on younger women. Wheat waffles is 100% correct. Men want younger, youthful, vitality-based women. If they're single and they can get them, they will go for them. Why wouldn't they?